The Grand Canyon, marked by stratified bands of red rock, is one of the most notable natural landforms in the United States and the entire world. Nicknamed the basement of history, it is an embodiment of rock layers, with each rock representing a distinct prehistoric period since the Earth's genesis. Recently, a group of experts researched the Grand Canyon. What they discovered will change the course of history and our knowledge about the historic structure. But what exactly did they discover, and how will this affect the Grand Canyon? Join us as we explore scientists' terrifying discoveries in the Grand Canyon. 10. Some weird prehistoric life forms found in the Grand Canyon. The discovery of life form began when a massive rock tumbled down from a towering cliff, revealing some markings. Alan Krill, a geologist, was on a hiking trip with his student. As he moved along the Grand Canyon National Park's Bright Angel Trail, his keen eyes spotted an unusual rock with distinct marks that seemed like footprints. An intrigued Krill took some pictures of these markings and sent them to his old friend and colleague Stephen Rowland, a paleontologist at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, renowned for his excavation of the Washoe Hunting Ground, a 200-year-old butchering site found in Carson City. From Rowland's analysis of the photos he received, it turned out that Krill's discoveries were ancient fossilized tracks. Rowland suggested the footprints to be as old as 313 million years old, making the fossil the oldest and the earliest evidence of vertebrate animals ever found in the Grand Canyon. This animal print on dunes was proposed to have belonged to an amniot, a hard-shelled egg-laying animal. So how did the footprint remain well-preserved until its discovery? The rock bearing the markings weighs hundreds of pounds and had fallen from the Monocacha Formation, a large outcropping of sandstone that's about 314 million years old. The sand was a significant factor that helped to preserve fossil markings for millions of years. Going deep into the analysis, Rowland discovered that the fossil markings depict two separate reptilian animals crossing diagonally over this boulder. He also noted that one of the animals was a foot long and employs a sideways stepping pattern. This lateral sequence is when an animal moves the left rear foot in succession with the left front, followed by the right rear, and then the right front. Although scientists are still curious whether the tracks were from two separate reptilians or the same animal at different times, this is because the second set of tracks seems to move slightly faster than the first, This made Rowland conclude that the lateral sequence gait is common among tetrapods, four-legged vertebrates. Whichever way, the markings show the early presence of crawling vertebrates which had never been found elsewhere until now. The finding also serves as prehistoric evidence of amniotes living in dunes, predating other evidence by at least 8 million years. Despite Rowland's discovery, some scientists believed his study to be controversial. A paleontology program manager at the Grand Canyon, Mark Niebel, said there is a significant disagreement within the scientific community regarding the interpretation of tracks and determining the age of rocks. This made Rowland's analysis controversial and particularly challenging because it's impossible to determine the creature responsible for these tracks. Nabel, however, praises Krill for the find, as the rock carrying the prints was located where a lot of people had passed without spotting them. Number 9. Grand Canyon Caves with sloth dung and mummified bats. Most people have no idea that the Grand Canyon's cliffs have caves embedded in them. The inside of these caves are filled with several remains of plants and animals, which give us an insight into the region's past in the days of the Ice Age. The cave also varies in size, as some can be so narrow. To enter, you would have to be on all fours, and while others are roomy enough to spin in without touching the walls. Either way, these caves have been a perfect habitat for wood rats, bats, birds, and the now extinct mountain goats and sloths. Due to Arizona's dry climate, the bones of these animals were exceptionally well preserved in their dry state. This remarkable preservation allowed researchers to gain valuable insights into the events that took place 40,000 years ago during the Ice Age. Scientists' study of these fossils started with the Rampart Cave, which was discovered in 1936 at the far western end of the canyon at an elevation of 534 meters. Scientists found several piled-up dungs like bowling balls scattered on the floor, and they looked as though they were excreted in recent times. However, it was discovered that they were made by a roughly 9-foot-long, 500-pound sloth that had been extinct for over 10,000 years. When these dungs were analyzed through radiocarbon dating, they were said to have been in the cave for a long period, between 11 to 40,000 years. Old plant matter detected in the feces helped scientists figure out the eating habits of these wild creatures. Also, the matter provided details about regional plants including globe mallow, Mormon tea, saltbush, catclaw, cacti, reeds, and yucca, which had existed on this landscape. Neat piles of wood rats' dumps also served as tangible records of animals and plant remains that had existed undisturbed on the Grand Canyon for thousands of years. Also discovered in the cave were the skulls of Harrington mountain goats. Paleontologist Chester Stock in the 1930s was the first to describe these animals, believing they had existed for at least 19,000 years and disappeared alongside the Shasha ground sloth, a distinct giant hairy Nathrotheriops. Also, he recorded that Harringtons were a smaller, short-haired version of the modern mountain goat. The cave also houses mummified bats, including condors, that are exceptionally well preserved. According to Steve Emsley, a biology professor at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, some condors and their tissues are preserved so effectively that even the skin and other details are intact on certain bones. Emsley, an expert on birds, explored the caves alongside Mead, an anthropologist. When Emsley conducted chemical analysis on the dried-out tissue remnants of the condors, he found that the Grand Canyon condors likely fed on megafauna, which later became extinct. This extinction caused death to the mummified bats. Number 8. The Colorado River is almost dried up. The Colorado River originates in the Rocky Mountains in the southwestern United States, with a distance spanning approximately 1,450 miles. It flows through deep canyons and rugged terrain, carving out stunning landscapes along its course. One of the most famous sections of the river is the Grand Canyon, where its powerful force has shaped a breathtaking natural wonder. The river channels water through deserts, waterfalls, and canyons, and runs across the lush wetlands by a vast delta in Mexico and into the Gulf of California as it flows through the Grand Canyon, where it's utilized for kayaking, canoeing, and excursions. Unfortunately, scientists have discovered that the river will soon dry up if proper measures are not taken. Environmentalists believe that the problem has been building for decades, but has come to a head in recent years because the major reservoirs on the river have fallen to dangerously low levels because the western states build dams and divert flow into cities such as Los Angeles, Phoenix, San Diego, and other fast-growing cities. This has decreased inflow into the former Grand River. One of these dams created is the Glen Canyon Dam. Engineers may be satisfied that the dam diverts the Colorado River, but environmentalists believe it's been nothing but a danger to the river since its creation. The river still flows fine at the Grand Canyon, and boaters are still seen cruising across Nevada and Arizona's Lake Mead, which is the largest reservoir in the United States by water capacity. But at the lake's edge, lines of the rock walls are visible, showing the water level is far below where it was once. The Glen Canyon is 50 years old and is the force responsible for the creation of Lake Powell. Lake Powell is a man-made reservoir created by the flooding of the Glen Canyon Dam, and even though the dam was created for a hydropower boost, the water levels are too low to produce any. If this continues, water will not be able to flow down the river due to the dam's positioning, which would have a negative impact on the water supply for the people of California, Arizona, Mexico, and even Nevada. This prompted environmental groups to call on politicians to invest in reshaping the Glen Dam's plumbing system. With an update in the dam system, there will be enough room for water to flow into the Colorado River. Hopefully, this is done soon, before we lose one of the world's natural wonders. Number 7. Uranium deposit found in the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon is a spiritual and cultural homeland to at least 11 Native American tribes. One would think a place like this would be safe from something like uranium contamination, but the reverse is the case. There are numerous uranium mines and hundreds of mining claims located outside the boundaries of the park, posing a serious threat to the preservation of this extraordinary gorge. Uranium deposits are located deep within layers of sandstone, siltstone, and mudstone throughout the Southwest. In the Grand Canyon region specifically, uranium ore is found in geological formations known as breccia pipes, a region that first attracted miners in the 1870s. The history of uranium mining near Grand Canyon National Park dates back to the 1950s, when operations began at Orphan Mine, located just 2 miles from Grand Canyon Village. Over the years, a total of at least 8 uranium mines have operated close to the park. Among them is the currently active Canyon Mine, which has been renamed Pinyon Plain Mine, the highest-grade uranium mine being developed in the U.S. This mine poses a threat to the springs inside the Grand Canyon. During the mid-2000s, there was a significant increase in the price of uranium, prompting companies to flock to the Grand Canyon region in search of opportunities to extract its relatively small quantities of high-grade ore. By the end of the decade, thousands of mining claims had been established on public lands surrounding Grand Canyon National Park. With the collective efforts of anglers, local governments, hunters, and native communities, a successful campaign was carried out to secure a temporary mining ban in the vicinity of the Grand Canyon. One of these groups is the Havasupai tribe, whose reservation lies in the depths of the canyon and depend on a spring-fed creek flowing through their village for drinking, cooking, and irrigating their corn and alfalfa fields, in addition to various ceremonial and cultural purposes. They express concerns that Canyon Mine might pollute the underground water that sustains the springs within their village. In 2012, a 20-year ban on uranium mining was initiated on approximately 1 million acres of public land surrounding the Grand Canyon. However, this relief is only temporary, which gives the Supai's village some reprieve. But it seems mining companies are simply eagerly awaiting the premature lifting or expiration of the ban. As of May 2022, nearly 600 mining claims remained active on national forests and other public lands in the vicinity of the Grand Canyon. This is despite the multiple attempts made by the Congress to pass legislation that would permanently prohibit new mining operations in the area surrounding the park. Number 6. The Mogollon Monster. Perhaps one of the most fascinating tales you must have heard about the Grand Canyon is that of the Mogollon Monster, also known as Arizona's Bigfoot. The majority of these monsters were believed to inhabit the dense forest landscape of the Mogollon Rim. This 2,000-foot-high cliff stretches from northern Yavapai County to the border with New Mexico. The first sighting of the ape-like monster occurred near the Grand Canyon dates back to 1903. Ingvald Walter Stevens, an explorer who had an encounter with the beast, described it as a large, hairy humanoid creature similar to the legendary Bigfoot or Sasquatch. He revealed that it possesses immense strength, agility, and the ability to move stealthily through the rugged woods of the canyon. Even cryptozoologist enthusiast Don Davis believed in the existence of Mogollon. He held this belief due to an experience he had during his mid-1940s when on a Boy Scout trip near Payson. Davis claimed to have laid eyes on a large, hairy creature with expressionless eyes and a square-shaped face and head. According to anecdotal reports found on the canyon, the creature is believed to be over 7 feet tall, walks upright, has at least 2-inch-long claws covered in shaggy hair, and emits a pungent odor similar to dead fish or rotting meat. And due to its adaptive nature, the beast tends to mimic the noises of wildlife in its surroundings. No wonder reports state the creature gives off an eerie sound similar to a woman's scream in great peril. Well, Stevens and Davis's testimonies have failed to convince most scientists who attribute these sightings either to a bluff or the assumed monster may have been a large, standing grizzly bear. Since the existence of this creature is yet to be confirmed to this day, if you ever hear a piercing scream or come across a set of impossibly wide footprints on the Mogollon Rim, run and never look back, because the wild man of the rock might be lurking deep in the woods, waiting for the perfect moment to strike or, at the very least, raid your tent. Raid. Number 5. The Grand Canyon. Luxury suite that is also a cave. As the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1961 was still heating up and fears of bombing lingered on, John F. Kennedy, the The then President of the United States of America took a step ahead to create a safe place in case the bombs decided to explode on Americans. So he found the Grand Canyon to be the perfect spot for these protective measures. There, he built luxury suite caves and supplied each cave with enough food to support over 2,000 people for at least a month. As the bomb never dropped, the suite, which took 4 months to complete, became a tourist spot where visitors to the Grand Canyon can still take refuge. Nestled about 220 feet beneath the surface and referred to as the world's quietest, darkest, and oldest underground hotel, this remarkable geological marvel boasts caverns and walls dating back over 65 million years. The emergency rations stored remained fresh and usable even after 40 years. This is possible because the Grand Canyon naturally has a dry climate which preserves everything in it. As for amenities, the lounge area has a television, record player, beds, and a library to ensure the comfort of those in the suite. In addition to that, this special suite even has running water, but only because several hundreds of gallons are brought down to the cave by hand. Thanks to the super dry, zero underground humidity climate, these edibles are still usable to this day. Because of the dry conditions, no other form of life, including rats, insects, and other animals, can survive living at this depth to ruin the stash either. However, it's not entirely private. The suite is shown as part of the attractions in the national park. To experience this luxury, you have to pay a night rate of $900. Number 4. The terrifying creation of the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon stretches approximately 277 miles long, up to 18 miles wide, and reaches a depth of over a mile. Its sheer size and the intricate layers of rock exposed along its walls provide a unique geological record spanning billions of years of Earth's history. The story of the Grand Canyon begins roughly 70 million years ago, during the late Cretaceous period when the region was a relatively flat landscape. Over time, tectonic activity and the uplift of the Colorado Plateau caused the land to rise, setting the stage for the canyon's formation. Around 6 million years ago, the Colorado River, which flows through the region today, started to carve its way through the rising plateau. As the river cut deeper and deeper into the rock layers, it exposed a wide range of geologic formations, showcasing millions of years of Earth's history. As the Colorado River continued to flow, it eroded the layers of sedimentary rock, primarily composed of sandstone, limestone, and shale that make up the canyon walls. While the river was the main driver of the Grand Canyon's formation, other factors also played a role. Climate changes over millions of years influenced the rate of erosion, with colder periods increasing the power of glaciers and freeze-thaw cycles, and warmer periods allowing for more abundant water flow. Additionally, the presence of harder rock layers, such as resistant sandstone, slowed down erosion in some areas, resulting in the formation of dramatic cliffs and steep slopes. Visitors to the Grand Canyon can witness the ongoing process of erosion as the Colorado River continues to shape and reshape this remarkable natural wonder. It stands as a testament to the dynamic forces of nature and serves as a vivid reminder of the Earth's geological past. Number 3. The case of disappearing and reappearing bodies. In 2021, a body was found at the Grand Canyon about 430 feet below the rim at Yavapai Point. The body was believed to belong to a 45-year-old Hungarian man, Gabor Bertsi Tomsanyi. After his family reported that he was missing to the Las Vegas police, the police swung into action. While on the lookout, they found the Hungarian man's car and belongings at the Park Visitors Center. As they searched further, his body was found 131 meters below the rim of the canyon. This was a shock to those involved in the search, however. What startled them even further was the discovery of another body in close proximity. The body belonged to Scott Walsh, who was last seen disembarking from a shuttle bus at the south rim of the park in 2015. His body was found at almost 5 kilometers. The clothing had blended in with the surroundings, and the body was positioned in a way that made it almost undetectable. No one knows why the authorities couldn't find these bodies earlier. Then a discovery answered everything. You see, the Grand Canyon is often referred to as a layer cake of geological history, with its rock formations stacked neatly as they have been for some millions of years. However, deep within the canyon lies a huge gap between rocks that had kept many secrets hidden away from the human eye. Recent discoveries have started to shine light on the mysterious space, which has explained why we keep stumbling on new bodies we never thought existed on the canyon. Now, it's time for today's subscriber pick. While looking for more mysterious discoveries within the canyon's gaps, a large and box-like structure was discovered and pulled up from the canyon. Everyone was puzzled by what could be in this box. Could it contain bodies that were buried by Native Americans from long ago that inhabited the canyon, or could it contain secrets about the Mogollon monster? Due to concerns and fears surrounding the mysterious box, it was never opened. What do you believe was in the box? Would you have opened the box? Number 2. The Tusayan Ruins. The Grand Canyon area has witnessed the lives of many creatures, each with their unique stories. Some pass through fleetingly, while others choose to establish lasting roots. One of those with established roots at the Grand Canyon are the ancestral Puebloans, who are believed to be relatives of the modern-day Hopi, Zuni, and other Puebloan tribes. Data from the 2 rings of juniper trees common among Puebloan dwellings showed that the Tusayan settlement located a few miles from the southern edge of the Grand Canyon was built around 1185 AD. With the constructed agricultural fields, communal buildings, established homes, and religious structures in these ancient dwellings, archaeologists had concluded that ancient life in this area dates back to 800 years ago. The Tusayan Ruins is a central plaza surrounded by storage rooms, living quarters, and kivas. The plaza faced south to attract the sun in the cooler seasons. The living quarters consisted of a single story of rock and wood with about 3 or 4 main rooms. Storage rooms held food that was dried to preserve it during harsh winter months. The ruins contain 2 kivas, which are ceremonial structures that modern Puebloans still use for religious ceremonies and festivals to date. Kivas are circular below the ground and accessed by a ladder through a hole in the roof. Many Hopi, who are Native American ethnic groups, believed they entered this world through kivas. But the presence of the Kaibab limestone, a resistant cliff-forming stone, prevented the ancient people from digging very far into the ground to build their kivas.